Do you live ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, June 11th edition of the program. Everybody welcome in, and we're going to have our latest opponent preview for ECU football as we get a little bit closer to opening day. I think we're now 86 days away from kickoff. Still a long way to go, but hey, it's never too early to start talking some football, and East Carolina will be hosting Appalachian State in its home opener after the Alabama game. We're going to catch up with David Ware from App State Mania, get the latest on the Mountaineers and Pirates, the latest rendition of that in-state matchup. Really looking forward to that game personally. I think a lot of people around the state and within both fan bases have come to really like this matchup. So we'll talk to David about some of the things that he likes about the Mountaineers heading into the second year of the Dowell Loggins era after a disappointing 5-8 campaign. They did go to a bowl game, but also kind of unique circumstances, ended up losing to Georgia Southern, their rival in that postseason contest. So we'll get the latest on App State with David Ware from App State Mania. Also, we haven't really discussed at all the World Cup, and I'm not really a football guy, a soccer guy, but this time of year, anytime the World Cup comes into the fray, at least you got to support the United States, if nothing else. We'll try to talk to Philip Pilkinen, our producer today, about what interests him amongst this World Cup. All right, I am back in Greenville, North Carolina after a few days in Baltimore. Something happened with my microphone apparently during the trip, so if you're hearing a little bit of a buzz, we apologize for that. I'm going to try to get that figured out during the next 24 hours or so, and so we can figure that out for next week. But either way, we're rolling strong, trying to at least. Philip Pilkinen back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Philip, I'm running a little on fumes. I did drive 95 last night after the Mariners-Orioles game. Got back at 3 a.m., and so I'm running a little on fumes. Got some coffee in me, though, so if I fall asleep today, you may have to take over. Or if my mic just becomes too annoying, you may have to take over.
Yeah, sounds good. I will actually mute you here while I'm talking, so sorry about that. But, yeah, no, glad you guys made it back. Glad you guys had a good time. And how did Slater do on the drive back?
Dude, he was a trooper the whole trip. He, you know, for being 4 years old, he will turn 5 in July. So, I mean, basically 5 years old. And he only whined one time the entire trip, and that was late in the game last night. I think, you know, we did the aquarium, we did the children's museum, and then we did the baseball game all in one day, which is a lot for a person his age. And I think by the end of the game, we went to go wash our hands, and he just, you know, hit his back on something, so he got a little upset. But other than that, like, he was awesome. Better than I expected for taking a basically 5-year-old on a 5-hour trip. And on the ride home, he basically slept from 11 until 3. And then I carried him up to his bed, and he slept right through that. And he usually can be upset when woken up in the middle of the night, but this time he was a trooper. And the coolest thing about it, like, obviously the Mariners won the first game. That was great. But yesterday there was rain, and you know, I was debating whether or not to go into the stadium early. It rained up until like 6 o'clock. It was a 6:30 Eastern first pitch. And I was like, you know what? I brought this Major League Baseball official ball. I got a ballpoint blue pen. I was like, I'm trying to get some autographs for Slater. And maybe if we go in with it raining, there won't be as many people there by the Mariners dugout. So we ended up doing that. And we had to wait a while because they had to pull the tarp, and the players weren't even in the dugout like until probably 30 minutes close to first pitch. But we ended up getting 5 Mariners players to come over and autograph his ball. A lot of them key bullpen members. Andres Munoz, one of the all-star relievers for the Mariners, their closer. He came over. Gabe Spire, who pitched for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic this year. Jose Ferrer throws like 100 miles an hour. Edward Bazardo. And then Colt Emerson, their top prospect, who just called up. So those 5 gentlemen came over and signed Slater's ball. And look, I had been to this very stadium as a kid trying to get Mariners autographs back when Ichiro played. and I was shunned, Philip. So I was a little worried that these Mariners would do the same. And I got to give kudos to the Orioles ballpark crew for letting us go down by the dugout, even though we didn't have tickets for that game there. But B, the players, like, I guess just having a 4-year-old, 5-year-old is the ticket. But he was awesome, and had a chance to talk with Gabe Spire for a little bit. Super cool experience, man. That made the trip worth it alone.
That's awesome, and that's a great moment that he'll always remember, and I'm sure always keep that ball as a special father-son trip you guys got to take. So I'm really happy for you. And as we know, Slater, huge Grady Linehan fan due to the green bat. No Mariners do use a green bat. Did he like all of Julio Rodriguez's green accessories? And if not, does he have a favorite Mariner?
So his favorite Mariner is number 12, Josh Naylor. Obviously, Grady Linehan, number 12 for ECU. So funny thing is he wants to call Josh Naylor Josh Grady because he's like, I'm going to call him what I can because he wears number 12. But Naylor on Tuesday's game was wearing pink socks and a pink armband and pink shoes. So like he loved the pink, all pink with the navy blue outfit. It stood out. So no matter where we went in the ballpark, it was one of those like crowds where you could literally move around, sit everywhere. He was keeping an eye on Josh Naylor. So big fan of Josh Naylor. Big fan of Julio Rodriguez's blue. He had a blue glove and blue cleats on. He does rock the teal as well. And then Naylor had a teal sleeve and teal shoes on Wednesday, which he enjoyed. And then Victor Robles had a blue and red glove. So all the bright colors he was a fan of. He also did get an Orioles, chain, like the little chain with the O's logo on it. So, he had to get some swag too. And we got the coolest thing, we got the little wood bats they sell at all these ballparks. He, big Star Wars fan, he got a lightsaber glow-in-the-dark Orioles wooden bat. So he made out pretty good.
That's awesome. And, I think when you go to, if you're somebody who becomes a baseball fan, there's something iconic about going to every major league park. I screwed up and decided to buy a hat at every major league park, which now they're running about $40. So maybe Slater would make the more financially mature decision and get a little miniature wood bat from every ballpark if he can attend all 30 in his lifetime and find a way to like hang them up and display them in his man cave one day. So hopefully that works out for him. And I think those are running about $12-15, Steven, as opposed to 40.
Yeah, those are much more affordable. Yeah, $15 region. And I did get Cannon, my daughter. I got her she's big into coloring and crayons. They had a crayon, like an orange crayon design wooden bat as well, so I got that for her. And last year we went to Rockies Red Sox. His first game was at Fenway. He got a green bat in honor of the monster, and then she got a red bat. So we're 2 years in, and I have 2 wooden bats for both my son and daughter. Obviously, Slater more the baseball fan at this point, but Cannon may get there at some point too. And now I'm like, can I just use this as an excuse to travel to a new ballpark every year? And I think that's going to be my play to the wife.
I think so. I don't think it's a bad play. If it's like, hey, I'm trying to spend quality time with my kids, it's not like you're just going by yourself or going with me and Scott and Wags somewhere. Like, hey, you're taking the kids. I feel like this is good family bonding time. I mean, like I said, Slater taking a huge step, 10 total hours in the car, a lot of hours at a ballpark, a lot of museums, and one time, getting a little fussy. I mean, that's pretty damn good at 4. Also, to sit through 2 baseball games at 4. I think I sat through my first MLB game. It was the summer. I had the same thing, July birthday. I was about to turn 6, and I did make it through the whole game, but that's pretty impressive.
Definitely a proud dad weekend, or I guess week, as we went to middle week. Proud dad moments for sure, and did a great job. All right, some comments here. Lane Smith in the chat says, are we hearing anything on the portal for baseball? I did see that. I haven't heard a whole lot from ECU outside of the fact they got they don't have a commitment yet, but they did have a few visits, including a catcher earlier this week. I did see that Colby Thorndike, Case from Maley was texting me this, is on his way to FMU, which is a Division II program, Francis Marion University baseball. So he goes from Omaha with Coastal Carolina, had a down year. Now he's going to Francis Marion. Now, I don't know if he has a connection there or what, but was surprised to see that this morning. I think in the next week or so, we'll start to hear some top targets. I did hear ECU's after a shortstop from Purdue, also trying to get a catcher, as I mentioned, and plenty of arms. Mr. Jake Agnos is recruiting too. So things are in motion. I don't have any news on a commitment yet, Lane, but that's what I'm hearing there early on in the process. All right, Robert says, Igo, are you doing the Group of 5 Beehive ECU preview this year? That's the plan, Robert. I've done it the last few years. They have not asked me yet, but when they get to ECU, I'm planning to do that. Also plan to do summer school on the Cover 3 podcast with Bud Elliott later this summer. So that's what I'm expecting there. Spencer Scott in the chat says, can we expect to hear anything official on Charlie Hoagland's return? He's asking about the ECU freshman left-handed reliever. I still expect Hoagland to be back unless something has changed. Early on, I was hearing he is likely to return, and he had committed to return. This was in like the first few days after the season. So unless something has changed there, I would expect Charlie Hoagland to be back. But I guess we'll see what happens in the coming days officially. Hunter in the chat says the autographs were awesome. Nothing like getting a baseball signed by major league players. I was trying to get autographs at Camden Yards, he says, and Dick Vitale was sitting in the front row behind me, got his autograph. Philip, have you had any luck? Because, like I said, as a youngster, I didn't ever have – like I went to a lot of O's Mariners games and never could get an autograph. Have you had any luck getting, like, major league autographs at such games?
No, but also I didn't go to a lot of MLB games as a kid. I went to that one Rockies game when I was pushing 6. I think my next MLB game, actually, other than a couple other Rockies games, I guess we'd always sit out in the outfield, sit in the club level one time. There was so much in the family going. I mean, I really didn't start going to games consistently until middle school. My mom was running the marathon, went to Boston, so I haven't had as much luck with that. My luck as a kid was used to every year the town I went in had a Christmas parade, or not, sorry, Christmas, a July 4th parade, and there was always some Panthers players in it. And you could go meet the Panthers players after, so that was where I more had luck as opposed to actual games. So I'm 0 for 0, honestly, trying to get MLB players' autographs. Like I said, just didn't go to a lot of games young. Just when we went out to Colorado, we usually didn't get there in time for that.
The only thing I remember as a kid having success with was they had the Michael Jordan golf classic. I can't remember what the name was. My dad would take me, and I did get John Elway's autograph as a young kid at one of those
That's awesome.
golf classics. I was fired up for that. I tried to get Michael Jordan, and I remember vividly being a little kid, like in this mass of people, and he's just like, you know, he's signing everything around him, but I couldn't get his attention. And I just remember my dad telling me, hey, you're a little kid. If you go ask him, you're more likely to get than me. And so I said the same thing to Slater. Of course, Slater, I had to call out the players' names. I will say the thing that helped us, like if you just call them by their last name or like their number, they're not going to come. But I knew like all these random relievers, like I knew their first name, like Edward for Edward Bizardo, Jose for Jose Ferrer, Colt for Colt Emerson, this young prospect. So like that helped us here getting their attention.
Funny Mariners story. My dad was sitting behind home plate at Kansas City one time, and it was when you guys still had Kyle Seager. So my dad went to the same high school as the Seagers, and he yelled out the name of the high school, and Kyle like turned around and was like, oh goodness, and just like walked over and chatted him up for like 5 minutes, and they were just talking about like, you know, I mean obviously they weren't there at the same time, but just stories from high school and places local around town. So like you said, if you can know something that's a little niche about a player, like you said, even sometimes those relievers, everybody only just knows their last name. So that's a good way to hit it.
No doubt. And shout out Gabe Spire. He sat there for a good minute or two talking to my son. I mean, obviously he's a reliever, doesn't have too much going on pregame, but like it was still cool that he took the time to, you know, hey, where are you from? You know, how many games have you been to? How old are you? That sort of stuff. So like that was cool. You know, for a guy who's pretty established as one of the top left-handed relievers in Major League Baseball. All right, final question. We got to get a break in. We're going to talk NBA this segment. We'll save that for later. Just, I mean, what a collapse by the San Antonio Spurs and what a comeback by the Knicks. For you, Philip, if you could get any past or current player autograph of any sport that you grew up watching, who would be your top choice?
Ooh, that's tough. You know, it's crazy I say this because I don't think I appreciated him when he was in Carolina as much as I should have, but then when we got Cam and he was so me, and not enough about the team, I've always admired Jake DeLome, the passion he played with. Nobody has ever, I think, played a pro sport that wanted to win more than that guy. I don't think he's very talented, but man, he would risk life and limb and do whatever it took. He even made a joke one time because he used to lick his hands a lot before plays that he'd lick the floor of a dirty supermarket if it'd help him throw the football better. So I don't think anybody has ever played with as much passion as that guy. So it's between him and Dustin Pedroia probably, because I think both those guys played the game the right way. And sometimes it's more about respect for the player than it is the talent that they naturally have.
No doubt, two massive fan favorites, and even as a non-Panthers and non-Red Sox fan, I enjoyed watching those guys when they weren't playing against the Broncos or the Mariners, because Pedroia used to kill the Mariners. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll have our App State preview. David Ware from App State Mania will join us. And also, you guys in the chat, if you got any autograph stories to tell, since we talked a lot of autographs segment one, or if you have a favorite player you would like to get an autograph from one day, drop in the chat. We can read that later in the show, too. But App State football ECU preview on the way after this.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Allen, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be
Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors here. Segment 2, we continue on with our ECU football opponent previews here in a second. Again, apologize. We got a little bit of technical difficulties today with our mic. You may hear a little bit of a buzz, but otherwise, you should be able to hear us and our guest, David Ware from App State Mania. He covers the Mountaineers for the 24/7 Sports Network and more. And we get ECU and App State once again this season. It'll be ECU's home opener after the season opener at Alabama. And David, first off, welcome back to the show. Secondly, man, I'm fired up because I feel like this ECU App State series is, at this point, probably the series I look forward to most in the non-conference. But from your perspective, how much do the App State fans kind of look forward to this thing now that both programs have kind of established at least a little bit of an in-state rivalry matchup thing going?
Well, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think it's got a lot of upside to it. You know, I think we as fans probably feel the rivalry maybe more than I would call it a traditional rivalry. But hopefully there are some ways to start working around some of the what seem to be now perpetual scheduling quirks that are starting to come up. Things like Power Five teams talking about 9-game conference schedules. We still need money games at this level, so you've got to work around that. Schedules get organized, well in advance, and you really have to put some forethought into it. But I'll be honest with you, I cannot think of a better in-state rivalry for either of our schools to pursue than this one.
Where I'm of the proponent. Look, I think a good non-conference game like this can elevate both programs, and I know there's recruiting battles that go on and all that, but I'm to the point where I want it to be an annual game. Is that too much? And I do know that App and Boone and Greenville aren't exactly close, even though they're both from the state of North Carolina. So it is a trip, but I don't know, man. I almost feel like at this point I want to see it every year. Is that too much?
I think there's probably two answers to that, Stephen. One, again, I don't imagine that you'd find a large percentage of either fan base that would say they didn't want to do this on an annual basis. There's just too much great football to go on between two programs that are capable of that. But I think the realistic answer is now, with some of the things that are going on from a scheduling perspective, conferences get larger, travel demands, depending on, especially for you guys. I mean, we have to take a trip every now and then in the Sun Belt, but we're pretty centrally located. You guys have to really, have to take some time zone jumps going across. And, I think as a head coach, you do have to be strategic about it. You do have to think about the impact on your players. And at the end of the day, you're interested in winning the American. We're interested in winning the Sun Belt. That has to be the priority. But you would certainly like to, again, just given the potential of the series, you'd like to do everything you can to say, hey, let's at least make sure that we don't go 3 seasons in a row without this game being played somewhere.
He's David Ware from App State Mania. We'll talk about the 2026 Mountaineers here in a minute, David, but let's look back quickly at last year. Obviously, Dow Loggins comes in his first year. From the outside looking in, it was a bit of a unique hire. We're so used to App State guys being there, and maybe they wanted to go in a little bit of a different direction. But your thoughts on his hire a year now removed from it, a year plus removed, and also his first year in Boone?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of things that were, I'm going to call it a tough draw for him. First and foremost, and you guys understand this because you've been through it, whether you're going to hire from inside or not, you don't wait until December to replace a coach anymore. That process has to begin earlier in the season. It's a tough call to make, but once you've made it, you need to start that process of evaluating options, of engaging not necessarily coaches in direct conversation, but their representation, and start getting a feel for who might be available, who would like to be available. Is there somebody that really values this job? And, when Dow came in, I mean, he literally gets hired on the Saturday before Wednesday traditional high school signing day. And he's got barely over a week before the transfer portal opened. And, he had a few staffers that were there early. Obviously, he can represent your offense fairly well. But, they came into that first, especially portal world that he had to engage in as the head coach at a timing disadvantage. And, he's talked about it, and he's been pretty transparent about, hey, I wish I'd have done some things differently. When you're a first-time head coach, the only way to learn them is to make a mistake. And so, okay, I know what I don't want to do moving forward. So it was odd from the beginning because of the timing. As time went on, I think he realized that with him also being the play caller, I can't really put the offense that I'd like to on the field. We had some good quarterbacks. They were good throwing quarterbacks, but they were fairly one-dimensional in that regard. Our running game wasn't as consistent as it needed to be. And what you guys are going to see, and not that we necessarily segued into 2026, but, I think what you guys are going to see, especially offensively, is a very different system this year, one that is much more truly RPO driven with a quarterback who can use his legs. And, that creates some different dynamics defensively. On the defensive side of the ball, DJ Smith is back as the DC. And, I felt like schematically DJ had some good stuff going on last year. Maybe the personnel wasn't exactly what he would have liked, maybe mixing and matching as you move back from the front seven to the secondary. There's some things we have to do better this season, and I saw some differences in the way they approached the portal from the guys they brought in with that group for this year's team.
So they bring in, obviously, part of that quarterback conversation from the outside looking in, David, is Malachi Singleton, who previously played for Arkansas and Purdue, more of a running quarterback. And the first thing when I saw he was heading to App is, all right, Loggins wants to get back to maybe more of what he did at South Carolina, obviously with the mobile quarterback there. So is he the expected starter? Is there a competition ongoing there? What do you think?
Well, I think, if you asked Al Loggins, he'd tell you that absolutely nothing's been decided and it's a competition, because that's what he has to do that. That's his job. From where I stand, I think Henry Hasselbeck did a really nice job of establishing himself as the second quarterback there. There's some things he does really well. He is probably surprisingly athletic, really can get up and go. But he's a younger guy. He doesn't have the snaps under his belt that Malachi does. I would call Malachi the clear-cut number one. And it's more based on the dynamics I saw during practices, the positions I saw the coaching staff putting him into. And I'll tell you, I've spoken with him. I really like him. He's got a really great attitude. He's got the right mentality. He wants to come in. He wants to work it hard. And, he doesn't want to be handed that role. He wants to have earned it. And he wants to have earned the respect of the guys on that offense. And, I think he can do that. He is an effective runner. One of the things that really struck me when I saw him the first time, when he tucks the ball to take off, he looks like a running back. He's got a thick build to him. He really leans in. His shoulder lean is good. I mean, it's natural for him to run the ball, and I think that's going to serve him well. Now, of course, when you want to go with a passing quarterback, you want to go with a pocket guy, you understand that probably you sacrifice some stuff with mobility. When you want to go RPO, probably the running game being a strength, maybe there's some things in the passing game that aren't as I won't say they aren't as dangerous, because they are. They're different, and he will drop back in the pocket. I don't want to say he's never going to do that, but certainly I think working on the move is a real strength of his.
How about the rest of the offense around the quarterback, David? Who are some of the names to know early on this offseason? Do they return key players or any big portal additions?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of wash, rinse, repeat for all of us at this point. There was a lot of turnover in the offseason. You're rebuilding, I'd say, a healthy chunk of the offensive line. The receiver group, especially your top four receivers, are gone from last year. So, there's work to do in both of those groups as far as establishing chemistry, identifying, the playing rotation. Still very much live situations there. At running back, Jakari Lewis is back. He started towards the end of last season. Last 3 or 4 games, he really made an impact as a true freshman. Really like Jakari's game. He's, when you see these younger running backs in high school and just given their athletic advantages, most of the time, even if the play is designed to go inside, their first instinct is to see how quickly they can bounce it outside. And that's really not Jakari's game. He came in running that inside zone. He's got good vision for it. He's got quick feet. I really like it when I see a young running back who will stick with the play call, and he's very good at doing that. Also coming back this year, a name that will be familiar to you guys in that part of the state, Kanye Roberts, who tore an ACL just right before the season started last year. Really hated it for Kanye. He's been rehabbing hard, and he looks good. I mean, he didn't do anything full contact and spring ball as you'd imagine. But, I think by the time we get back to fall camp, he will be regular Kanye. And, I think people have kind of maybe forgotten about him a little bit, have forgotten what he can bring to the game, have forgotten how his style might complement Jakari Lewis. So I'm really anxious to see him, back there and having a chance to continue his career here.
Of Kanye coming out of high school, as you mentioned, from around this way, and I think App State got a steal when they got him, and obviously when he's healthy, he's shown he can be a good player. Defensively, I want to ask you about that in a minute, the unit, but obviously, David, ECU gets one of App State's better players in the portal, in Zaire Gamble, and he started a little slow in the spring and then really finished strong, man. A playmaking safety, it seemed like, from watching practice. Curious to somebody who watched him play every game last year, what exactly is ECU getting in Gamble at safety?
Well, Zaire's just a ball player, and I mean that in the most complimentary sense of that phrase. He does things the right way. He worked his way up here. He had to earn what he got. He had to earn the reps. He had to earn it on special teams. He had to earn it on scout teams. And he did it the old-fashioned way. And he just got better and better and improved more and more. And, it's one of those things that's so cliche, and I don't know how helpful it is, for fans to hear this, but, you hear about guys, the game just slows down for them. And you started seeing Zaire, I think, especially as last year wore on, he started dictating to the offense what was going to happen. It wasn't just reaction. He was proactive in the stuff he was doing. He's a good tackler, doesn't mind putting a shoulder on you. He's a ball hawk. He'll get in the passing lanes. I mean, he's kind of still a bit of an old school ball player to me. He does a little bit of everything well. He takes pride in doing everything well, and he's a good teammate.
David Ware from App State Mania. We'll get him out here, our App State opponent preview for the ECU 2026 football season. Defensively, as a whole, you mentioned their coordinator coming back. At times played some really solid defense last year, David. So what's the outlook on that side of the ball?
Well, again, just kind of the same chorus again. There's a lot of turnover there. We had a lot of guys who were on the field contributors last year who left. I talked earlier about the portal situation during Dow Loggins' first cycle of going through that, and he really didn't have the luxury of time to maybe do some of the things they would have liked to do. It was clear to me this time through they made much more of a priority of finding guys that already had playing experience, whatever level they were playing in, D2, FCS, JUCO, D1, it didn't matter. They went out and they found guys who've been taking game reps. And I feel like that was a big difference relative to last year's team, and I feel like that difference showed up at some points. So I'm interested to see what the additional experience brings to that side of the ball and how they're able to translate that into more consistent production, I would call it. I mean, here's the thing. If you go look at the stats, the numbers don't look great. But, you also understand, hey, we were in a shootout with Coastal Carolina. Well, JMU hung a big number on us. Okay, that happens. But if you also go back and look at the game log, that was a defense that held multiple opponents to less than 30 points. And in today's college game, if you can keep somebody, let's say 28 or below, you're giving yourself a chance to win. Now, there needed to be more complementary football, but, the defense did its job a number of times. There were some games where it got away from them, but I feel like this year maybe there's a little more knowledge that walked onto the field without us having to teach everybody everything. So hopefully you'll see that, they will absorb schematically what we're trying to do better. I think the biggest thing for me, we got to get more consistent pressure up front on the line. Just too many times we were in situations where we had to bring blitz pressure, and you just keep putting that pressure on your secondary. Eventually, something's going to happen, and I think it'll be a big early marker to look for is how much front floor pressure can the defense produce.
right, final thing, David Ware from App State Mania, looking at the schedule. The non-conference, they open with Maine, then go to ECU, Charlotte at home, and then at NC State. Challenges start to Sun Belt play as well. They get ODU at Coastal, James Madison at Georgia Southern. So, the schedule's tough. It's not unmanageable, but looking at Vegas kind of has App around the 6-win mark, at least if you look at the odds, the over-under odds, kind of as an expectation. Do you think that's a fair expectation? And this is a program with very high expectations overall, David. So what would be a successful season for Loggins in year 2?
Well, I think that the standard here is very simple. They want to compete for championships. That's always the goal. That will be the goal going in. We want to win the Sun Belt. Now, you do have a tremendous amount of turnover, and you can rep it all summer. You can practice as hard as you want. Guys can be as committed to it as they want. You and I both know, when the game starts, the dynamics are just different, and it does take some time to build some familiarity, to build up some trust. And that is not a fun non-conference schedule to start out with. App's gotten the better of ECU a couple of times of late. I know you guys are going to be looking for an ounce of blood there. NC State is not going to be a picnic over in Raleigh either. We'll see what the Charlotte program's been able to do in the off season. But, the Sun Belt, and listen, I've got my grouses about the way the league does things sometimes. I mean, not only do we just go right into the teeth of some of the toughest teams in the league, we play every East divisional opponent in a row, and we don't cross over to the West side until the last 2 games of the season. That's pretty unusual. I think that is a lot of pressure to put on a team. Regardless of how you come out of the non-conference, it's tough to know that by week 3 you may have either made or broken your chances at winning your own division. So, it's a lot of pressure they'll have to absorb up front, and, they'll just have to figure out how to manage that. But again, I think that's where you see the tendency to go look for more experienced players out of the portal. That's where you see some of the benefit of that, and guys maybe not being quite as overwhelmed early in the season.
David Ware, App State Mania. David, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate your insight on the Mountaineers, and we'll see you in Greenville this fall, and I'm sure we'll be calling your number again on App State Week, man. But I appreciate it.
Anytime you need something, Stephen. Take care, man.
Absolutely. David Ware from App State Mania, always a pleasure to work with, and does great work covering the Mountaineers for 24/7 Sports and other places as well. All right, we got to get a break in. We'll come back. We got a lot of submissions in the chat about autographs, which we were talking about in segment 1. We'll get to that as well. And we'll also talk about the craziness of the NBA Finals last night. Spurs blow a 29-point lead. And Knicks with a historic comeback in MSG. Also, World Cup. We got to touch on that, too, before we get out here. So we'll get a break in. We'll come back. Segment 3 on the way.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health. Which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. In Eastern North Carolina, people appreciate things that are straightforward, honest, and dependable. For decades, our team has focused on cutting through insurance complexity for the communities we serve. And now, we're bringing that same mindset to our name. We're Flatlands Insurance Group, a simpler name that reflects the same local team, the same values, and the same commitment to the great communities we feel blessed to be a part of. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world is covered.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, Newbern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Get ready to board.
We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in here. Segment 3. Enjoyed our chat with David Ware. That'll be archived on our Spotify, Apple Podcast pages. If you're just tuning in, you're hearing the not-so-great buzz from our audio. It's because something happened with my mic, so we're trying to get that sorted out, but at least you can hear me. We'll work through it today. Philip Hilkinen producing today as well in the 94.3 The Game studios. A lot of comments from the chat about autograph experiences. I'll get to those real quick. Will Landon says he grew up in Brook Valley. He says the Michael Jordan tournament was awesome. Not sure how they convinced so many big-time celebrities to come to Greenville in the summer. It is crazy looking back at it. There were a lot of big-time celebrities at these events, that just this random golf tournament in Greenville, North Carolina. But I remember as a kid, it was always a big deal. Shores444 says my brother got Brett Favre and Adrian Peterson when they came to play in Charlotte when we were younger. Rode the elevator with Adrian Peterson for it. That's pretty sick.
Wow.
So that's a definite memory. Kenny Curlins, Cowboys fan, says 1992. I snuck on the field and got Charles Haley's autograph and was shown on TV for the Cowboys beat down of the Giants 33-3 win. And he says he also got Robert Jones. How did you get on the field, Kenny?
Good job, Kenny.
Sick.
We should all strive to be more like Kenny.
Just sneaking down on the field in the middle of like an NFL game, or was this after the game? I'm assuming, but either way, that's cool. Robert has a negative experience to share. He says the worst autograph experience for him was Jason Sehorn, who played DB for the Giants. He says I asked for an autograph, but he kept posing for a picture and then called me out for not taking the picture. So some sort of miscommunication there with Jason Sehorn. Kenny says he would like to get Roger Staubach, and Robert said he would like to have gotten Walter Payton. So, or maybe they did get them, but those were huge. Yeah, I used to collect autographs when I was a kid. I had like a whole curio with a bunch of random autographs I had to get off of eBay. So I got, right beside me, I've got Felix Hernandez autograph ball and a Kyle Seager autograph ball that actually won at a Mariners game. So taking you back to segment 1 there. I was a huge autograph guy as a youngster. Although I do have to share my worst experience ever. Willie Bloomquist, who was a utility player for the Mariners, this was at the Orioles Park. I was standing above the dugout and I had my ball and I said, "Hey Willie, can you sign my ball?" And he said, "Sure, buddy." And then he walked away like a jerk. And ever since then, I have despised Willie Bloomquist. I came up with a nickname that I can't say on the air for Willie Bloomquist. Also, he's now the head coach at Arizona State, and I hate Arizona State baseball as a result. So,
there you
Willie
go.
Bloomquist, not my favorite Mariner. So, yeah. All right. Did you watch this NBA game last night, Philip?
Well, I watched some of it. Then I turned it off, and then realized it was close, so I turned it back on. So I didn't really see the comeback. When I flipped it back on, they were down by like 5 with like 4 minutes to go.
So, to take you behind the curtain for me here, I'm driving home. Like, obviously, when you're driving home and you're tired, you just need like something to engage with and listen with. And like I was hopeful that this game would be a close game. And then like I turn on the radio as I'm leaving Camden Yards, and it's like 9:30, and the Spurs are up by 25 at that point. And so I'm just like, well, this is great. I do have to say I got to give the Knicks broadcast credit. It was cool to listen to the Knicks broadcast, but like they kept referencing even throughout this first half like how important every possession was. They were down by 20 plus the entire first half basically, but they were like, hey, if they can just get it to teens, this team has a track record of coming back in unbelievable fashion. And they were like living and dying on every possession down 25, and like I just thought the announcers did a great job of kind of telling the story of the game. And obviously I tuned into most of it because I didn't really have anything else to listen to. It was either that or like Brewers Athletics, which was on my MLB station. So I listened to the game, and it was just surreal to listen to the Knicks home broadcast as they came back. The excitement, the crowd, and it's just like you just look up and, all right, they cut it to 19. All right, they cut it to 15. All right, it's 12. It's 9. It's 5. It's 1. Oh, crap, they lead. It was just crazy. And obviously the biggest blown lead or biggest comeback, however you want to look at it, in NBA Finals history. The previous was, I believe, your Celtics against the Lakers or vice versa. I can't remember which. It was 24 points somebody overcame to take a 3-1 series lead. In that series, Philip, I think in 04.
Was that 4? Oh, how we would have been making the finals in 04. We're bad then.
I'll have to look it up. Maybe it was Lakers, somebody else, but I'll look it up.
Lakers Pistons, I think, was 04. I think.
Okay, 24-point was the previous record for a finals game comeback, and they erased a 29-point deficit. And just craziness, man. The Spurs obviously choked. There's a million things they could have done differently, but also credit the Knicks. So, just your thoughts on one of the more insane, maybe one of the best finals game ever, if you just look at it holistically.
It's been the best Finals 4 games probably ever. And, look, Steven, I thought, just kind of going back and looking at some of the highlights, like the Knicks, to your point, they didn't panic. And it kind of goes back to OG Anunoby's, interview there at the end. It was just like, hey, we know that we can come back. And it seemed like they didn't really change what they were doing. They just changed their efficiency, both offensively and defensively. And I felt like their heads were in it. You didn't see anybody pointing fingers. You never really saw their body language change. At least, like I said, I didn't really watch much of the comeback, but when it was bad, it didn't seem like, before I flipped it off, it didn't seem like, they were really that concerned, and it wasn't like they didn't want to lose. They just, knew that they could do it. And I think the big thing, too, is sometimes because I did see the end, when you make that comeback, you're so caught up in the emotion that sometimes teams kind of fold and they get too excited, and it just seemed very casual in the way they handled it, even down the stretch. Like, they just played it possession by possession. They stayed calm, cool, and collective. They never got too high. They never got too low. And credit OG Anunoby. I mean, that play that the game-winning basket, was it skillful? Sure. But it was one of the highest IQ plays anybody's made in these 4 games. He just realized, oh, crap, there's nobody on me. I'm just going to run to the basket. Whatever happens, happens. And it just so happened that the shot missed and came right to him, and he did a hell of a job tipping it in. Like, just talk about putting yourself in position to succeed, and I think that's what the Knicks did down the stretch.
Yeah, I listened to a post-game show until like 2 a.m. because I had nothing else to listen to, and they had a former NBA coach on who said it was silly for the Spurs to double. Obviously, they had Wemby on Jalen Brunson, 7'5", 7'6" defender, however tall he is, one of the biggest freak athletes in the world. They doubled with Fox, and Fox's guy was OG Anunoby, and so therefore nobody boxed him out, and he got the tip in. Like, why would you double there with 1 second and not crash the board?
The other thing is,
turned out to be a mistake.
Fox was doubling, but he really wasn't that close. And he was guarding the left side, and Brunson's a right-handed player. Like, Fox was just kind of there for the sake of being there. It felt like, this is hindsight being 2020, obviously, but there was never really, it was the end of the day. It was clear he was going to try and shoot over Wemby, and it was actually a pretty damn good shot, all things considered. It's kind of a weird form. He kind of had to shot put it because he was so far back and to get it over Wemby, but yeah, it didn't really make sense. Like, if you're going to double, but it didn't really feel like they truly doubled. It was more like a primary defender and a shadow secondary defender, which there wasn't enough time for him to like try and cross Wemby over and make some spectacular drive. Like there was like 5 seconds left.
By the way, it was 2008 Celtics-Lakers game 4.
Yeah,
the Lakers were up by 24 points and blew it, and Celtics went on to win the game 4 and eventually this series in 6 games. So we'll see how this unfolds going back to San Antonio. It could have been 2-2 and Spurs had all the momentum. Instead, a historic comeback/collapse, and the Knicks are one win away from clinching an NBA title. Just sounds crazy to say. All right, we'll get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show after this.
The power of savings is yours at Greenville Toyota with powerful deals on our huge selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or the all-new RAV4, $279. Don't miss the power of savings at Greenville Toyota.
In Eastern North Carolina, hard work matters, and it always has. At Flatlands Insurance Group, we've been showing up for our neighbors since 1963, helping families and business owners navigate change, weather tough seasons, and keep moving forward. Decades later, our purpose hasn't changed: to help protect what you've poured your time and energy to, from your home to your health to whatever comes next. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world covered.
Need cash for a vacation? National Finance Company is here to help. For over 50 years, National Finance Company has been the small loan specialist with loans from $1,000 to $5,000 with low payments to meet your budget. We're in the business of getting you the cash you need today. Apply online for a loan at one of our convenient branch offices and get your money as fast as today. It's easy. Get the vacation cash you need. For extra cash, visit nfcmoney.com.
Your future is full of possibilities, and Pitt Community College can help you explore every option. You can earn a degree, learn a trade, transfer to a university, or launch a new career. We offer the support you need to succeed with flexible schedules, affordable tuition, and programs designed for the real world. Your path, your future, your college. Pitt Community College. Register now.
Visit Larry's Steakhouse for a tender, hand-cut certified Angus ribeye. Other entrees include perfectly seasoned pork chops, chicken or seafood favorites like shrimp, tuna, and salmon. Complement your meal with Larry's fresh 20-plus item salad bar, or enjoy it as an all-you-can-eat entree. Daily rotating favorites include meatloaf, chicken pastry, hamburger steak, spaghetti, pork chops, and more, all complemented with your favorite country sides. Whether it's for lunch, dinner, or our Sunday brunch, remember to support and eat local. Larry's Steakhouse.
The hunting and fishing event of the summer comes to the Greenville Convention Center, July 11th and 12th, bringing together the best hunting and fishing vendors, outfitters, and fishing experts, all under one roof. Special free events, including a mountain trout pond, indoor archery range, offshore fishing experience, interactive duck blind, and free seminars. Don't miss it. The Mid-Atlantic Hunting and Fishing Expo is July 11th and 12th.
With new Toyota trucks from $259 a month, you've got the power of savings at Greenville Toyota. Drive Tacomas $259 a month or Tundras only $399 a month at Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Get ready to board.
We're live with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Our final segment, final few minutes. We'll save a little bit more World Cup discussion for tomorrow with Bobby Harward, and we'll preview more in depth as the United States gets underway on Friday. But just a quick discussion here with Philip Pilkinen producing today's show. The World Cup officially starts today, and even as a non-soccer guy, it's still pretty awesome to watch. Obviously, going on in North America. Today's games are in Mexico. Tomorrow, you've got Canada playing in Toronto, and the U.S. will play in California at SoFi Stadium. What's your interest level in the World Cup, Philip?
Oh, I'm loving this. I'm extremely excited. I'm not an avid soccer guy. I watch soccer a little bit, but just anytime you get to, us as a country, we get to come together, and cheer for the same team. It's great. And just anytime you see these things, man, you see the culture of these other countries you don't know much about. I mean, yeah, it's fun to watch the European clubs. When you see these Central, South American countries, African countries, see their fans, just how passionate they are and how much it means to them, because this you know, a lot of countries, man, this is it, right? Soccer's all they got. They don't have 4, 5, 6 sports like we do. So to see it, man, it's awesome. We're going to go in depth tomorrow. I've got some matches that I want to hit on, just kind of maybe for the casual viewer, if you're looking for some things to watch outside the U.S. We'll hit on that tomorrow. But no, I'm extremely excited, and I think the fans are excited. Did you see the game that was played at Auburn a couple nights ago?
I did not.
Dude, it was like Argentina and Iceland, but they had like the intro with the eagle and everything, like Auburn's actual intro, and the music and stuff in this place was bumping, and these European fans did not know what to think. They thought it was cool. I've seen all sorts of tweets and TikToks about it, about the Europeans coming over to America and experiencing, hey, you want to experience America, don't go to New York City, baby. Go to SEC country.
True sports environment. I am very curious to see what these crowds are going to be like. By the way, United States in Group D with Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. So I would think they would advance to the knockout stage. If not, it would be a very disappointing showing.
Yes,
but,
it would be.
Don't put it past U.S. men's soccer to this point. So we'll hope for the best. And, hey, we'll pull for U.S. along the way. Obviously, hope for a deep, memorable run. All right, again, we'll have more on that tomorrow. Bobby Howard will be in. We'll probably do our next ECU football position room update as well, state of the room. So we got to get that in tomorrow. I think we'll do outside linebackers with Bobby and some World Cup talk. MLB, a little bit of everything, as always, on a Friday, so look forward to that. This has been Hoist the Colors. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon.